Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. I'm Madison, and today I wanted to walk you through 4 or 5 plants that I think are drastically underrated and that you need to know about and maybe even bring into your own home. So let's go ahead and get started. And don't forget to subscribe if you like this kind of stuff because I put out planty videos every single week. All right, this here is the first plant that I want to talk about for underrated houseplants. This is my Philodendron Gigantum, and as you can see, she's a giant. This plant is such a cool plant. It is a super easygoing, and easy growing, both. And it's such a fast, prolific grower that you can pretty much put it anywhere and it's probably gonna be happy. I personally have this pulled pretty far away from any natural light. It's probably 8 to 10 feet away from any natural light source. Although I do have a small grow light up on the ceiling here, it's not terribly strong. So I feel like you can get away with a little bit lower light for this plant. Not no light, that does not mean no light, but a little bit lower light for the Philodendron Gigantum. I feel like I don't hear people talking about the Gigantum very much. I hear a lot of chatter lately about the Philodendron Gigantum variegata, or the Blizzard Gigantum, which of course is absolutely stunning. I'll pop a picture up over here so you know what I'm talking about. But it comes with a very hefty price tag along with that variegation, whereas you can find a pretty, a reasonably small size Philodendron Gigantum for a really good price. I want to say I bought this plant when he was about down here. He was pretty darn small, and it was like around $20, so a really good price for a beautiful plant. It's just so understated and stunning, and because it's such an easy, fast-growing plant, it makes for a great statement piece in your home. So it just is like a giant tree. It's the coolest thing ever. And it's really vocal too for as far as when it is ready for water. It will get a little bit droopy and sad looking, and then 30 minutes after you water it, she'll be perked up and happy again. So these are such cool plants. If you don't already have a Philodendron Gigantum, you might want to start thinking about it, but plan for it to be taking up a lot of space. I will say that. She likes to kind of branch out. She's a little wild, but that's kind of what I love about it. All right, the next plant that I want to talk to you guys about is my beautiful Australian umbrella tree, or Schefflera, Schefflera something. I had to zoom you way out so that you can see this big beautiful thing. I think that this is such an underrated houseplant. It's so cool. It's such a beautiful, again, statement of a plant, just like that Gigantum makes such a statement. I've had this guy growing in my entry for the past 3 years, and he's done so well. When I first got him, he was I don't know, he was about yay high, and now he's clearly almost to the ceiling, if you can see that. He's not getting a ton of light, and there's just one small window that gets some of that early morning sunlight, so it's not super harsh light, and it's not for a very long time either. And there's also trees that are blocking the sunlight a little bit too, so he's getting pretty minimal lighting, I feel for what he could use out in nature, but he still grows so well for me. And I have had a couple run-ins with spider mites with this plant. It took the treatment so well, and pushed out 2 new leaves as soon as I was done treating it. It was oh, thank you. So it's just such an awesome plant. I don't feel like it is terribly talkative, but it is pretty easy to tell, you know what I mean? Despite it being in such a giant pot, I can kind of stick my finger down in there and see if it's feeling moist or if it's just bone dry, and then I'll give it a good thorough watering. I honestly don't know what I'm gonna do when he reaches the ceiling. Yeah, I'm not sure. We are kind of hoping to move sometime early mid next year, so hopefully our next place will have taller ceilings and we can not have to worry about chopping this guy, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But yeah, I love this plant. I can't speak highly enough of it. It just adds such a beautiful jungly feeling to any space. And for me, having it right in my entryway is just such a lovely thing to see every day when I come and go, and I just love it. It's such a warm welcome into my home. So yeah, if you haven't thought about getting yourself an umbrella tree yet, maybe think about it. Now, I also do have the dwarf version, the mini version of this guy. This is your dwarf umbrella tree. Ooh, she is dusty, but This guy is also super, super easy to care for, but just on the miniature scale. I will say I prefer the big one. I love giant plants, so I definitely prefer the large Australian umbrella tree rather than the miniature version, but yeah, this guy's just gorgeous. If you haven't thought about it and you have a ton of space and like tall ceilings, definitely think about getting yourself a tree. And I would say don't worry about like searching for a really tall one to begin with, because like I said, they grow pretty darn fast and they're so satisfying to watch grow too. So yeah, get yourself an umbrella tree. The next plant that I want to show you guys, let me pull it out of here. Whoop. So this is my rabbit foot fern, and this plant is such an easy care fern. Ferns for me, at least since moving to Colorado, have been something really terrifying to even like think about bringing into my home, because it's a little bit drier here. At least I think of it as being drier coming from Washington State, where it's wet and rainy like all the time. But this fern has been so easy for me to care for. It does not require super high humidity by any means, and it also doesn't require a ton of water. So I have forgotten about this plant a lot of times, and for like a good chunk of time, for those times that I forgot, like I will forget about him for like 2 or 3 weeks at a time, which don't do that, but it's not great. I lost a few little fronds, but nothing crazy. You know what I mean? Ooh. Look at this one. This looks like a new one that's coming in. Hopefully it'll focus here, but it looks like super dark. I wonder if that's alive or dead, or if it's just coming in dark because it was closer to a grow light in the tent. I usually just have it hanging up in my window here, getting that like harsher evening sunlight from the western facing window. And I have moved it into this grow tent just a couple weeks ago, and it's been doing really well. But look at how cool this plant is. Like, I just feel like for a fern, if you're gonna have a fern, you need the rabbit foot fern. If you're scared of ferns, try the rabbit foot fern. It's so easy, it's so underrated, and what I really love about this plant is that it looks super cool hanging up, because you can kind of see the little legs hanging down, but it also looks really cool just in a pot. There's one photo I'm thinking of specifically. I will see if I can find it and I will put it up over here so that you know what I'm referring to. But there's, oh gosh, there's this Instagram account that has a beautiful, absolutely beautiful rabbit foot fern that is really nice and mature. They've been growing it for quite a while, and they have it in this like gorgeous, I'm gonna say it's like a black pot or something. We'll see if I'm right in this picture. But the legs creepy crawling like out of the pot just look so cool. So I just love this plant. I feel like it's probably not everyone's cup of tea, but it's just something fun and different to kind of add like kind of a foresty look mixed into your jungle vibe. You know what I mean? It's just lovely. So let me try and give you a nice view of those fuzzy legs. They are so cute. They creeped me out a little bit when I first got it, but I've just come to love them. They're so fun. And so these little, the fronds kind of grow off of the little arms here. It's so cool. I just love him. Such an easy care plant. You can, I feel like you could chuck it anywhere, although I will say I find that ferns usually like more light than people think that they do. So don't be scared to put him pretty close to a window. And if you feel like he's getting a little bit crispy, maybe pull him back a little bit, maybe up the watering a little bit too. But like I said, I let this guy get pretty darn dry and he doesn't give me any issues. So I love this plant. Rabbit foot fern, go out and find yourself one. I did find this at my local grocery store for like $10 or $12. So good deals, really good deals. Here I am on the floor for our last underrated houseplant for this video, and that is gonna be this beauty here. This is my Philodendron Red Emerald, or Philodendron erubescens Red Emerald. You're gonna commonly find it just called the Red Emerald Philodendron though, almost anywhere you go. And I feel like this is such an underrated houseplant for a few different reasons. Number one, it's a philodendron, so you know it's pretty darn easy to care for. It doesn't give you much trouble. It gets a little bit droopy when it's ready for water, so it's nice and talkative. It'll let you know what it needs and when it needs it. I absolutely adore the color of the new leaves. Let me see. Can you see the color of this leaf here? Do you see that? It is so unbelievably stunning. It's just this like light chartreusey with like the light pink veining kind of showing through there. And then once it hardens off to green, you can't really see that light pink veining anymore. So it's just this like special thing when the new leaves come out, and it's just, oh, it's so beautiful. I can't get enough of this plant. It's just It's stunning. And we actually potted all of these together. We took these cuttings together, rooted them together, and put them back in the pot together in like a couple different videos, I think. And I'm so, so happy with how it all turned out. Like almost all of the cuttings have been pushing off new leaves, and just, oh, it's just so exciting. I can't wait to have a big old bush with like a few different stems crawling up the plank here. And another reason that this is such an underrated houseplant, in my opinion, is because when it does start climbing, the leaves will get bigger. Which I just love. Not all houseplants do that. Most of them do, but not all. Some will just kind of stay the same kind of smallish size, whereas the red emerald will get pretty darn big, and it doesn't take that long for it to get big too. So it's really cool. It's such a fun, easy care plant. And I feel like it's one of those ones that you can kind of chuck anywhere and it'll probably be okay. You know, it's pretty low maintenance. The last reason I think that this is a really understated houseplant is because it's such a beautiful plant, but you can also find this at really reasonable prices. I've been seeing pretty good sized plants in like 4 or 6 inch pots going in for like $15 to $20, sometimes even less. And I think that's because it is such an easy growing plant. It's very easy and quick to propagate as well. So once you get some of this plant at your house, you can really easily start multiplying it to make a fuller plant or to, spread the plant you love onto others in your life. So it's just such a cool plant. I absolutely love philodendron. I think that they are probably, if not my very top favorite genus, it's like my second top favorite. Oh, and I forgot to mention too, when the new leaves come in, and I guess you can see it on the darker leaves, but it's more apparent in the newer leaves, there's a red margin that goes super thin all the way around the outside of the leaves, and it's just like, oh, it's so pretty. If you don't have a philodendron red emerald yet, you should start hunting for one, because I bet you'll find one for a really reasonable price. All right, you guys, that is gonna do it for this video. Thank you so much for joining me for some of the houseplants that I think are vastly overrated, or excuse me, vastly underrated. All right, you guys, I think that is gonna do it for this video. Thank you so much for joining me, for checking out some of the houseplants that I think are vastly underrated. I keep wanting to say overrated, but no, these guys are underrated. They are underdogs. I don't know why, because they're beautiful. So let me know what you think of my picks for a few underrated houseplants, and let me know what houseplants you think are super underrated and that we all need to know about and like maybe get into our own houses. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.